Merrick Krotzel. I'm the VP of Engineering for a company called Compass North based in Lincoln, Nebraska. Today we're going to be talking about the pilot data tracking, just a app. Don't really have a title for it yet, but a progressive web app to enable pilot data tracking in the field. So the high level overview. So the company itself, it's a kind of designed to be fit some holes in the private and corporate aviation spaces. My dad, Don, the founder, he has been a pilot for about 40 years, just has noticed all kinds of issues around everywhere. And so this was kind of conceptualized to fill some of those gaps and improve the experience for pilots and kind of enable the higher level people, managers, and aircraft owners to use that data that the pilots already need to enter to kind of get some summary level things and have some actionable insights on like a fleet level for their aircraft operations. So last year we sponsored a project with Senior Design that turned out amazing. The student team basically rebuilt our whole stack, multiple different software things from the ground up, kind of started fresh. We had a lot of false starts as we have built this out over the last 7 or 8 years now. And so we really wanted to just get back to basics, cut down to what the essential needs for the service are. And the team last year delivered a really great kind of re-envisioning of everything. It's a Node Express app on the back end on a AWS Lambda, and progressive web app through React on the front end, which is a lot more efficient than the previous iterations that we've gone through. But this year, what we'd like to do is expand on what was built last year and kind of shore up some of the data syncing capabilities, expand some of the modeling, enable pilots to enter the things that they need to keep track of easily and kind of at the natural places in the workflow where they would be doing those things or where it makes sense to be able to have some time to enter those things. So the long-term goal would be to create kind of like an alpha release that we can get in the hands of end users. We're also going to be collaborating with the College of Business Marketing Capstone, so there'll be probably some crossover between the team that works for the software product and some product research and just some interfacing with the marketing students to kind of iterate, probably mostly in the second semester of this project. So here's a quick, just kind of high level overview. I think I touched on some of these already, but basically, yeah, the team last year kind of redesigned all this stuff, re-envisioned what it really should be and could be. I'll start at the bottom. So the Postgres database, kind of a modern database that fits all of our needs. Then kind of above that, you have the back end services. So today it's a single Lambda based microservice, just a RESTful API to send data to and from, do some, CRUD operations, things like that. Pretty much do some processing on some things. And then on the front end is a progressive web app, which for anyone who doesn't know what a progressive web app is, it's basically conceptualized to be offline first. So you can download the web app, you know, download what would be the regular web page, but it has the capabilities to do, queue up all the calls that it's making and store that until it has an internet connection. So obviously that's something we really needed for this project. These pilots are, out in places that don't have good cell service, up in the air at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 feet, don't have access to cell service and things like that. So the progressive web app was kind of a really key feature that was implemented last time. So this iteration around will be kind of expanding some of those things and just like more focus on data integrity, make sure we don't lose anything, have some mechanisms to retrieve data that may be corrupted or have some sort of conflict with data that's actually been stored on the database, that kind of thing, which I'll get into more here. So this is kind of, we can be flexible on this, but this is just kind of our high level. Would like to have sort of stuff for the scope of work for this. So we kind of envision it as like a two-step sort of thing. Like the first semester, fall semester, would be ideally by the end of the semester, we'd have kind of an alpha release to work with to show people and get some user feedback with. So the things that go into that alpha release are kind of all pilot focused, and you'll know what I mean when I get to the spring semester stuff when I say pilot focus. But kind of the things I mentioned before, like improve the data integrity, make sure that the system is as resilient as it can be, as in terms of like being able to sync with offline and online and do the intelligent merging and that kind of stuff. So expand some of those things that are already kind of stubbed out and built up a little bit. Implement some new utilities. There's some things that would make it really useful for pilots, like just stuff that they do all the time, like fuel conversions, things like that, calculating weight and switching between gallons and all that kind of stuff. Passenger manifests, estimating weight and balance, that kind of stuff, just to really add some value for pilots. Improve the expense tracking capabilities. So as a pilot goes through, say they need to buy gas or whatever, they need to rent a car, they need to buy food. A lot of these are they're working for like a private individual or a company or something. They may not necessarily have like a access to a card, so they have to expense all this stuff. So kind of be able to help the pilots keep track of their expenses and who should be paying them back and all those kind of things, and kind of setting it up to be able to be summarized and accounted in the future. And then kind of being able to export logbook entries in some standard formats. Like Garmin has a format, but so maybe something like Garmin. There's a couple other big names in the space that kind of have their own formats, or export stuff in CSV format, that kind of thing. Because really, at the end of the day, what the pilots are doing is just filling out their logbook, and then at the higher level, that'll be summarized for kind of everyone involved, like on the trip level, on the manager level, all that kind of stuff. And then, so that's kind of the alpha release, or what we would ideally like to see for the alpha release. And then when the marketing students start in the spring, then they have something to work with. We have something to mess with over the Christmas break that you all have, and we can get some user feedback, and we can kind of iterate on what the pilot really needs, And then the spring semester is kind of about like, yeah, iterating over that feedback, trying to kind of build what the bigger product would be, which would be like, you know, taking all those individual trips and individual legs that a pilot enters and creating like a higher level report, or being able to trigger notifications or estimate when certain things have to happen. Like you can imagine, like your car is, you need a oil change at 36,000 miles or whatever it is. So we can start to kind of estimate those things based on what the pilots enter, and then we can we'd like to be able to trigger notifications to the whoever manages or owns the plan, like, hey, you're probably going to hit this checkpoint basically in X days or a month, or you got this coming up at this time. So have kind of be able to give them actionable things and notifications to keep everything running smoothly as far as their operations go. And then, yeah, number three is just kind of like, just generally the concept of like a higher level, not really like an administrator, but more like a manager or an owner of a plane or a set of planes, and having those kind of like higher level reporting summaries, like how many trips did my fleet take this week or this month or this year, or how many flight hours did all the pilots have, things like that. So and like I said, there'll be some customer discovery stuff going on in tandem with the marketing students. And so, you know, some of these things, especially the second semester, may or may not kind of shift as we go through. But I think this is really like our high level view for all this business. So the technologies that we're using, I mentioned a lot of these already. So TypeScript, Node on the back end, Progressive Web App and React on the front end, AWS Lambda for infrastructure. We're all on Amazon stuff right now. That's just because that's what we're familiar with. And yeah, Amazon RDS, and then Tailwind CSS. It's like you know, most of you are probably familiar with it in terms of like front end work. So just you know, a design thing to make front end work easier. So who you are, who we're looking for, and these are just kind of some of the student skills that I thought you would gain through this. So if you're interested in a few of these things or any of these things really, then I think this would be a good project for you to preference. So like data modeling, you know, we got a lot of complicated relationships between pilots, managers, expenses, aircraft, all these things. The data has to be modeled in a way that makes sense, and that can be unraveled and re-raveled and all that good stuff. Both working with an existing prototype and greenfield development. So there's, like I said, there's basic stuff existing today, and we're going to be expanding on that. So plenty of opportunity to work with existing code and to build all new code. Offline first and progressive web app design, serverless architectures, business requirement solicitation. It's just two of us on the business. So, you know, you'll have a lot of opportunity to, you know, really figure out and ask questions and find out what the product really needs in terms of what you will be building this year. Testing and quality assurance, obviously anything with regulated industries, aviation is very regulated. The quality has to be there, and, you know, we have to build out the ways to test it. And so anyone who's interested in that kind of stuff there'll be plenty of things to do there. Third API or third party API integrations, maybe we want to know what the weather was at any given time, or get some other aircraft information from some database, something like that. So be lots of chances for those kind of things. And TypeScript, Postgres, modern React, those are all fairly standard things these days. So always good to get experience with those. And then, yeah, just working with a pre-seed funding startup. We don't have investors, we don't have anyone holding our leash or doing anything, influencing us to do anything. So it's really just my dad and I just trying to build something useful that people can get value out of. And then, yeah, I touched on most of this already. So, like, who we are, to my dad, Don Krotzel, he started a software company in Lincoln, and sold it about 15 years ago now. Um, he'll be the executive stakeholder on this project, and he's also been a private pilot and an aircraft owner for 40 some odd years at this point. And then myself on the right there, I will be basically the technology lead for this. All of your tech needs, infrastructure stuff, that's kind of my domain. And yeah, we both were UNL alums, and we're excited to get this project going. So we hope you all are interested in it too. So thanks.